I think it's got something to do with the free spirit, and that might be one of the elements that isn't talked about so much in this whole dilemma that is being faced now here and in many other places. It requires a certain state of mind. The idea of self-determination, I suppose as an artist, that's what might have been a subliminal attraction before I really knew as much as I do about it all now. Because unless you actually subject yourself to some aspect of this kind of life, you really wouldn't have much comprehension of the mix it demands of a human being. And that goes for being an artist as well as being a fisherman. It takes a certain sort of obstinacy. So too with art, you can't push it too much, the similarity, because they are very different lives. It's something to do with a feeling of freedom. It's the only way I can talk about it. In my research period, because I don't come from this place originally, I come from London. I'm a city girl, born and bred. I had no previous knowledge of what sort of a life this was that was being played out in front of me. I knew nothing, and I needed to learn it all from scratch because I felt it was a privilege to just be accepted as a piece of furniture. That was rather difficult because I am female, and it was obvious that it was a bit of an anomaly, and what would my motive be? Well, women very seldom made an appearance on the beach. I did document the few occasions in a drawing or two. In the past, women had played a huge part in the fishing industry in the 19th century. I think I managed to be down there for quite a while before anyone had the time to bother to work out what I was doing, because I was there through all the seasons, and so not just a fair weather person. Obviously, I was very focused. Maybe that was what earned some respect. The hands were very expressive, and the hands, which are very damaged by the work and yet had an incredible dexterity, and the hands spoke to me as well as the voices. It had to take its time coming in through the eyes and through every other sensitive aspect of just being part of something. It's the kind of life that is lived around the major activity that the whole thing is about, this world down there. In the early years, there was so much more that needed to be done by human beings. That's why the paintings and drawings are full of people, and you won't see that anymore. And although it's a small area, it really did contain a huge number of boats and men and people. What I saw was this huge community. It was a bit of a miracle for me to witness it. Everyone, even the people that didn't go to sea, had a role to play. Because there were so many details that needed attention before the boat ever goes off and when it comes back. Many people spent a lot of their time there, even if they weren't actually going to get on board and go fishing themselves. I think it was that close-knit or even loosely knit assembly of human beings, all completely absorbed in this activity and interacting, it was sort of parallel universe for me. It just evaporates. It becomes the only life there is. And that has gone, because it was not history as in big history. It was my history, but I didn't know where it was going.
This is in your blood and you just want to get back to doing it all the time. For a young person now, there's no young people in this fleet because you just couldn't raise a family or pay a mortgage on what we earn.
So we've been working with Paul selling fish for maybe 7 years, and even in that short period I've seen dramatic difference in the amount of fish that's caught, the fish, the amount of boats that are working on the beach. And that's a tiny, period, but it's happening very, very quickly.
You wouldn't do it unless you loved it, that's for sure.
Something builds over time. It is a slow form. The images that I seem to need to want to make grew in an organic way from the time spent just being there. I never painted on the beach because painting is very technical activity compared to drawing. I was drawing because it's the most direct way to record, and it's very simple materials needed and can be done quickly. They would sometimes crystallize as an idea, and then my work would begin of how would I make this fragment into something whole. Of the other end of the process, as the years went by, I just found that I could have a more complete idea of one aspect of what it was I was going to make. A certain scale, an arena. It's a voyage, it's an act of trust in yourself and in the alchemy that means that you turn something evanescent into something solid. You are tackling the unknown in the same way as an artist does. The blank canvas, the tabula rasa. You have no guarantee that your voyage, your journey will have a successful outcome. But there isn't a role for them anymore because they have been displaced by machines. To them, the archaic ways are just not acceptable anymore.
Of course, the fishing boats, the wooden fishing boats have declined such a lot now. There's only a couple of wooden ones on the beach. And when I first started, they were all wooden and a lot more of them. Yeah.
Although the most obvious moment was when the first tractor appeared, then I knew that things would move very much faster in every way.
There were no machines in them days. Today there's dumpers to unload the fish, so things are much different today. I'm not going to say easier. Today there's
no hiding places.
No, there's no hiding. There's all machines today. Everybody knows.
The bulldozers now and the tractors down here, where originally it's all man-handled. Everybody used to help each other much more then because you needed to get like a boat of this size back into the water. You needed quite a lot of manpower around the bow to push it back down.
It's the technology which has made the whole enterprise much safer in many ways, much more efficient in many ways, but it has reduced the manpower. That's what's changed. I suppose I'd sort of seen it through to a moment of change, and I was changing myself because I feel as if I've been a witness, and I don't know what that's worth. I think I go back to the thing of being a free person, the self-determination, the way of life that to me is threatened as an artist and as a fisherman might feel. Things run their course, I suppose. Whether you like it or not.